Swayam Rupa Padadikam. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagapate, Gopisha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Radha Kanta Namostute. Jayata Surato Pangor Mama Manda Matagati Ma Sarvaswa Padambojo Radha Madana Mohana Radha Madana Mohana Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Hevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Are you ready? Are you excited? Yes, no? Some sign of life for me? Some emoticon?
Yes.
Some emoticon, some voice, some finger, something.
Woohoo!
I want to do some interactive work. I want to get you thinking about what I'm talking and how to apply it rather than just talking, because talking is okay. You learn something, but we need to learn it in a way that it makes sense for us. So when you live your life, you can take it and you can say, okay, this is how I'm going to do what I learned. So I want to do a little bit of that today. So in order to do that, we're going to do a little questioning and answering, not all the way. Oh, yes, I have a question for you. I forgot to ask you. Hold on a second. This is an important question. but I have to put my headphones on to ask you. Where is the love? 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 Where is the love, 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 love? That's my question. I guess if you had the answer, you wouldn't be here right now. And I will attempt to answer that question for you. And some of you are saying, why did you stop? I thought we were going to sing this song for the next 2 hours. You probably like that, right? It's a good song, right? We have good news to answer this question. And we also have bad news. I'll start with the good news because you won't understand the bad news till I give you the good news. And the good news is, where's the love? Right here. It's inside of you. And it's who you are. Isn't that good news? We are love. That's our energy. So it's time for some example. Here's a light bulb. I don't have an outlet to light it up, but I think it looks lit, doesn't it? From your perspective, it looks kind of like light. Okay. This is who we are. All of you are light. You may think you're big. You may think you're small. You may think you're a man, woman, British, whatever, South American, Spanish, who knows, whatever. You may think all those things. No, this is what you are. Inside, this is you. You are light. And this light is the soul. This is who you are. And you know what this energy is of this light? Purely, it's love. That's what it is. And I think there's nothing more that we want than love, isn't it? I mean, like, what's more important than that? And that's why we're always looking for it, to get it or give it. Basically, that's our whole life is about getting it and giving it, because that's who we are. Makes sense, right? That's who we are. Then we're always looking for it. So what's the problem? Here's the problem. This is who we are. And we are in some situation like this right now. What happened to the light? I don't see it. You see the light anymore? Light is gone, right? If I had some tape, I would tape it up. But I need another person to hold it. But if I had tape, I would tape it with black tape, with blue tape, with red tape, and lighter colored tapes. And that would show how we're covered. Some qualities like hate and greed, anger, it's black tape. Some qualities were covered are red tape. Maybe a little light comes through. Some are blue or whiter tape. But we're covered. And so the process of discovering who we are is uncovering. And that's through a spiritual process. You uncover, and look what you find. Ta-da! You found it. It was always inside of you, right? It's kind of cliche, isn't it? Should we write a song together? The love I was looking for was always inside. I was looking everywhere. I was trying to hide. All right. I won't make up a song now, but you get the idea, right? Okay. Bad news. I just gave you the bad news. We're covered. What are we covered by? It's called material consciousness. And my spiritual master gave an example. He said, you take light, pure light, you put it through a prism. Light is white, it's pure. You put it through a prism, what happens? It comes out a different color. We can call it perverted or in some way covered, or you put a color over the light and then the light comes out that color. So he said, he gave an example. He said, love goes through a prism and then that love energy gets perverted and it comes out. Have you ever ended up hating somebody you loved? That ever happened to you? I was going to write a song. I've never been hated by anyone who didn't first love me. You have that experience? Like they don't hate you. You know, somebody might hate you, but I've had relationships which are very close and they ended up hating me. I can't imagine why. I'm perfect. I don't know why they would hate me, but they did. So I must have done something wrong, right? So, or love gets perverted through the prison and it comes out as lust. You fall in love and you find out there was a song when I was a kid by Stevie Winwood. I think he's British, but that's before your time, right? What was that band? I can't even remember. Does anybody know? There's a famous band Stevie Winwood was in, like super famous when I was a kid. All you want to be hippies, you don't know? Come on. Anyway. And his song was, the words were, I thought it was love, but I found it was lust. Nobody knows that song. Helenka, you don't even know that song. I'm ashamed of you. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to punish you. Okay. Anyway, that was, you know, it was a super popular song. But so love gets perverted through a prism. And what happens? That love energy, it can turn into lust. And that's why love can turn into hate so intensely, because it's getting perverted. It can turn into lust. It can turn into so many horrible things when it's going through the prism. So the prism is material conditioning. And so whenever you're envious or hateful or lustful, it's really nice to think, actually, it's my love getting perverted. It's the love energy, but now it's not coming out as it should. It's coming out in a perversion, but that's all it is. So if you remove the prison, if you take off the cloth, what are you left with? You're left with love. So then the question is, so what's the problem? Why can't I just pull the cloth off? Well, you can, but it takes time. And any of you who are trying to pull the cloth off, no, it takes time, but don't give up, because it's worth it, because you will discover who your pure energy as soul, as love, as conscious. So that's the bad news and the good news we're going to start with now. I think you understand that when you give love, you feel better than when you get love. And you all have experience. You ever have experience of trying to get someone to love you who doesn't? How does that feel? Not so good, does it? Why don't you love me? What's wrong with you? I love you. Why don't you love me? No, I don't, right? So the beauty of purifying your consciousness is that you get to experience what you're giving. So when you give love, you get to experience it. But if you don't give love and just try to take it, you may get it, you may not. You ever try to you ever know two people who both don't love themselves, who get a partner, so the other partner will love them, but the other partner doesn't know how to love them because they can't love themselves, and it becomes really problematic? Have you ever seen that? Have you ever been in that? Yeah. So, okay, you don't have to raise your hand. Have you ever seen a relationship where two people are giving, not trying to take? That is beautiful, right? That's the most beautiful relationship. Two people come together to serve one another. They're both happy. Two people come together to take from one another. They're both miserable because they want the other person to make them happy. It doesn't work that way. The other person will make you happy when you give to them, because they will be so obliged to you because you give so much that they'll want to give back. I have a funny story. Is it too late for a funny story? Right? It's allowed in England, funny stories. Government's okay. All right. Thought only in America you could. Okay, so this man came to a rabbi. He said, I want to kill my wife. Rabbi's like, oh, okay, this guy's nutty. So the rabbi said, well, let's talk about it next week. And then the rabbi sent one of his people to the home, and he was outside the house and he heard the wife cursing her husband and says, this man, he's like, he doesn't even give me proper anything, proper food, proper dress, anything. I wish I could kill him. I'm going to, like, when he comes home, I'm just going to make his life miserable because he's making my life miserable. So then the rabbi understood, when he heard this, he understood, okay, this man, he's making his wife go crazy. And that's why she's driving him crazy. So he came back to the rabbi. The rabbi said, yeah, I can do it. I have a plan. This is how it works. The rabbi needed something built at the temple. It cost like $50,000. I said, this is how it works. Our scriptures say, if you make a promise to God and break it, then your wife will die. The rabbi just made this up. He had a whole plan. And the man said, sounds good. My wife's driving me crazy. The sooner she dies, the better. So he said, okay, I will build this. The rabbi said, great, you'll build it. Okay. And then he says, but how does God know I'm not going to build it? You know, I could be waiting years before he figures out I'm not going to build it. And my wife's going to be living for years and I'll be going crazy. So the rabbi says, okay, tell God you're going to build it. And then under your breath, just whisper, no, I'm not. Then he'll know you're not going to do it. So he does that. And then he says, well, when's she going to die? And he said, 2 weeks. And then the man's going, he goes, okay, I can tolerate 2 weeks. And then the rabbi says, one more thing. Since she only has 2 weeks to live, why don't you just like be nice to her for the last 2 weeks? Like take her on a vacation, take her out here, buy her things, say nice things, pamper her, tell her you love her, tell her you're the best thing in the world. You know? He said, I could do that for 2 weeks. I mean, if she's going to die in 2 weeks, I could tolerate it. So he does that. And in 2 weeks, he comes back to the rabbi and said, I have a problem. I said, what's the problem? The rabbi says, what's the problem? He says, this woman is the most loving, beautiful, kind, generous, etc. woman. I don't want her to die. And the rabbi said, well, that's no problem. You just build that thing you promised to build and she won't die. So, you know, Jewish people are smart. So, but whether that happened or not, I'm not sure, but you get the point that when you give to somebody, they naturally, they want to give back. That's the way love works. And when the experience that you get from giving is so beautiful because you get to experience the consciousness of the giver. And the consciousness of the giver is, I give without asking. That is such a high consciousness, isn't it? You agree? Like, you know, I go to your house and I give you something. And like right at the end, I say, you know, you remember when I came, you know, an hour ago when I first came, I gave you something. Well, could you give me that over there in return? You'd be like completely disappointed. You think, oh, you just came over to get something, isn't it? But if I just come and give you my time, give you gifts, you'd be like overwhelmed. And then you'd be thinking when I leave, is there anything I can give you? You've given me so much. It's natural. And so I get to experience the consciousness of giving, which is such a special consciousness, isn't it? There's like nothing you can experience like the experience of giving purely without asking for anything in return. There's nothing that high. Of course, we've been conditioned to think if we get, we'll be happy, but it's not true. It's just the opposite. The happiest, okay, I have a question for you. Are the happiest people you know the ones who have more or the ones who give more? I don't know if I told you this in the class we did, in the workshop we did, but I grew up about, probably like a mile from Beverly Hills. That's where I grew up. And I worked in a drugstore in Beverly Hills as a delivery boy, and people would order and I would deliver. So this is some geography about Los Angeles in case you go there or you've been there. You've heard of Beverly Hills, right? If you're a doctor in Beverly Hills, it means you're a good doctor, right? You know, All these doctors who do ads, they just get a P.O. box in Beverly Hills and say, I'm a Beverly Hills doctor, so they can sell their product. Because if you're a Beverly Hills doctor, you must be good, right? So, but above Beverly Hills is beautiful, but above it, there's a place called Bel Air. If you think Beverly Hills is beautiful, you ought to go to Bel Air. That's like where all the movie stars live, the brain surgeons, CEOs, and it's beautiful, beautiful. Madonna. You can go on a tour and see all the movie star homes, right? And I can certify, because I deliver it and I would meet people, and you can tell a lot about people by their face, right? I can certify those were not the happiest people I've ever met in my life. And I was only 16, but I could still tell. And I have spent a lot of time in poor countries, and they were way happier because those poor people were giving people. And when you give, you're happy, isn't it? So this is so, sometimes we're always thinking, I want to be loved, I want to get love, but it's actually the experience of giving love, which is what we're hankering for, because that's our nature, to give it. So I wanted to establish that as an important point before we go further. Yeah. Okay. Now, this next point is so interesting. How many of you like pizza? Raise your hand. No. How many of you love pizza? Raise your hand if you love pizza. Okay. I love pizza. Is there anyone on this planet who doesn't love pizza? If there is, I haven't met him yet, right? You want to get rich? Open a pizza shop anywhere in the universe, and the people be lined up. Every country I've been to that sells pizza, even China, people are lined up, right? Okay, we all love pizza. Not exactly. We don't really love pizza. The problem is, in English, we don't have exact words to describe the difference between loving something and something we like that makes us happy, right? Where in Sanskrit, they have words for that. You've heard of Kama Sutra, right? Kama Sutra. It's a sutra about kama. What does kama mean? It means lust, sexual lust. It's how to enjoy sexuality. But in Sanskrit, they have other words for love, which distinguish it from sexual love. So here's the problem. This is a huge problem. You're probably aware of it, but I just want to talk about it a little more because it's really a big problem. I love pizza, and I love Ananda, and I love my guitar, and I love my car. Is there a whole lot of difference between the love I have for those four things? Sometimes there isn't much difference because I see them all as objects that I can enjoy. Yes or yes? Ladies, you must know this better than anyone. Have you ever felt like an object of a man who didn't care about you, who wanted to enjoy you? I already know the answer, unfortunately, yes. And if you haven't, you are really lucky. And if you haven't had it happen yet, just be careful because it's easy to happen. So we have this word that's being used nowadays. It's called objectify, right? And objectify specifically refers to men dealing with women not as persons, people with feelings, not respecting them, but dealing with women like objects, kind of like pizza. I like pizza, it tastes good. I like you, you make me happy also. Now, I have a question. What kind of relationship do you have with pizza? I mean, like, does it reciprocate with you? Do you serve the pizza? Does it serve you? Of course not, right? And you've heard the saying, right? We treat people like things, and things, how does that saying go? I'm forgetting. There's two parts of it, right? People like things. We treat people. Yeah, anyway, that's the main thing. No, we love, oh yeah, here it is. We love things and use people instead of love people and use things. Yeah. So that's the problem in Western culture is our language doesn't clearly define love and lust and affection. Like, what are the differences between all these things? We kind of just bottle it up. It's all like one thing, isn't it? I love you. I love ice cream. I love my car. And oftentimes it's similar, love. And unfortunately, you women have had to experience that. And so you know what I'm talking about more than anyone, right? But then we have this other problem. I don't know if you know this. This is really interesting. The scientists have discovered that when two people fall in love, it's actually chemical reactions that are responsible for the feeling of being in love. Did you know that? Hormonal secretions are responsible. So when I fall in love with another person, it creates a hormonal response, which is translated as love. Did you ever wonder why two people madly in love get divorced? Is that ever, maybe you all figured it out, but I can give you one reason. It's the hormones. After a while, they've been secreted. There's nothing more to secrete because the relationship is not new and fresh. And when the hormones die out, they say, I don't love you anymore. Isn't that interesting? I don't feel the fire means I don't feel the hormone. So now love is, based on hormones. Okay, here's the problem. Love is based on service. In our culture, have you heard a pop song lately that said, love is based on service? Or have you heard the song, I look in your eyes, my heart melts, and I want to run away with you into the mountains? What about, do you believe in a love at first sight? And if you actually look at all the lyrics, not all the lyrics, but if you look at lyrics to many of the popular songs and what's going on in the movies and the novels, we've been conditioned with a very interesting and unhealthy concept of love, which then spills out into our relationships, which is why relationships have become so difficult, because we have this concept of love is taking, not that love is giving. Now, in the Bhakti tradition, if you study Bhakti philosophy, Bhagavad Gita, it comes to a pinnacle when there is service to the Supreme without any desire, purely out of love to satisfy the Supreme. That's the highest state of bhakti, the highest state of love. That's our nature. That's when we're actually happy. And I want to tell you an interesting story. This is so interesting. You want to hear it? Yes? Still alive? Okay. Put your hands up. I want to make sure you want to hear it, because if you don't want to hear it, I won't tell you. Yeah, okay. So I do a guided meditation. And the guided meditation asks people to focus their consciousness on different parts of their body so they can understand that they as consciousness are different from their body. So we can do this just for a second. Like right now, just be conscious of your feet. You can close your eyes. Be conscious of your feet. You be conscious of your feet. You be conscious of your knee. You be conscious of your stomach. You be conscious of your arm. You and arm different. You and stomach different, like that, right? So we took them through this meditation where they were meditating on their body so they could see that they were observing their body, and they, the observer, had to be different than the observed, because how could you observe it if you are it? But then we do something interesting. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse that says, as you grow older, your body changes, but you stay the same as the soul. You observe it. I mean, you change, your consciousness change, but essentially you're the same person. If I asked you, remember the earliest time in your life, like when you're 5 or 6 or something like that, you can remember that because you were in that body, right? You are the same person, body has changed. So we had them meditate on your little body, your teenage body, and then your present body. Then we took them to older. Most of them were college students. So we took them to like 50, and then we took them to 85 and said, meditate, you're 85, you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing an 85-year-old body. Crazy, right? And then we had them laying on their deathbed and said, you're going to die in a minute. And imagine you're in this position. And now imagine you have left the body as a soul. and you are hovering over that bed, and you can see the body lying on the bed. Now experience yourself as a soul, pure light, pure love, pure bliss, full consciousness, eternal. And so we sat in that meditation, just experiencing ourselves as pure light, pure love, pure bliss. We had no more body anymore. The body was gone, you know? And then I said, okay, now everyone come back in the body, because I didn't want to leave the meditation with them floating in the ether and ending up in the mental hospital after class. So we brought them back in the body, right? So come back in your present body. And then we brought them in. They just sat in their present body. And then we asked them, what was your experience? And this is what they said that was so amazing. They all said, when I was out of my body experiencing the bliss, that was the high of the highs. And when you said go back in the body, I didn't want to go back in it. Isn't that interesting? And why didn't they want to go back in the body? Because they had become free of all those desires that the body has. You know, your body has desires, right? You know what it's like. We all know what it's like. The body's pushing, isn't it? If it's not pushing us to eat, it's pushing us to sleep. It's not pushing us to go to the toilet. It's pushing us to hate somebody. It's pushing us to buy something. Of course, sometimes we're pushed to do good things, but we're pushed to do things we don't want to do. So when you get out of the body and you don't have those desires, now you're, this is pretty nice. Isn't that interesting? And these were people who knew nothing about bhakti, nothing, zero. It was their first experience. And that was their realization. So when we talk in the material concept, when we talk about purely giving, then we're thinking, but I'll be taken advantage of if I just give, isn't it? Did any of you think like that when I said just give? Like, yeah, because you've been taken advantage of before, right? But on the pure stage of bhakti, that doesn't happen because you experience the pure bliss of giving. And that is your nature, to purely give. In this world, yeah, it's true. You might be taken advantage of. It's true. But you can deal with it. You can deal with it. You can be smart enough to know when to stop giving to some people who can't take it properly. But I just wanted to share that when they were out of the body, there was no desire other than the pure desire as a soul, the pure desire of love. Love means service, to give, and that's when they were happiness. And they were saying, when you said go back in the body, I didn't want to go back in the body. I was like, oh no, damn, got to go back in the body again. You know, it's like coming back home after vacation, you know, oh no, I got to go back to work. I got to wash the dishes. I got to cook. It was something like that. So I wanted to share that with you as just to kind of overcome this concept that pure service and pure giving is like not going to work for me. No, it's who you are. It's really, you know, being free of all of that and just having this pure desire to serve. There's nothing higher than that. It's amazing. And I can only say this because I've been practicing bhakti for 50 years. So I've progressed on this path, and I can solemnly give you my solemn testimony that becoming free of material hankering, greed, lust, etc. is like, it's the place to be. It's the best place in the universe, for sure. Forgiving, what a place. Saying I'm sorry, wow, it's powerful. When you say it, just say I'm sorry. You know? I have a God brother, he says, we should all say, I live to be corrected. You correct yourself. Someone helps you correct. And you say, yeah, I made a mistake. It's liberating to say that. I forgive you. It's liberating. Now I'm never going to forgive that guy. He's a this and a that, and he doesn't deserve my forgiveness. And I'm going to go to my bed, you know, cursing him. You know. Great. How does that feel? Not so good, right? I don't think so. So that's the kind of like the segue into what everything else I want to talk about, so that you're in this consciousness, this mood that when I forgive, I get to experience forgiveness. When I'm compassionate, I get to experience compassion. not only the person I give it to, but I experience it even more. And it's an amazing experience, right? When I'm nice, I get to experience kindness. When I'm honest, I get to experience what honesty is like. And when I'm not, I have to experience the opposite. Does that make sense? Yes? Yeah. And it's a powerful impetus to elevate your consciousness. All your friends will say, aren't you going to get back at him? And you're going to say, why should I? Say, because he deserves it. And say, well, I don't want to live in the world of resentment. It's not the world I want to be part of anymore. It's not my world as a spiritual being. That's something thrown upon me. That lives here. That's that resentment, that hatred, that envy. It all lives here. Now, really, really important point that I just want to add on this as icing on the cake. And we're going to talk about self-compassion and self-love later, but I want to drop a seed. If I actually love myself, then I won't resent that person. I won't envy that person. I won't lust after that person. I won't do anything towards anybody that will come back, boomerang back, and cause me suffering if I actually love myself. And we drive ourselves crazy all the time, isn't it? Have you ever been like in traffic, screaming and yelling and like ready to devour everyone and 10 feet of you? Like why? What for? What's that going to accomplish? It accomplishes absolutely nothing except driving yourself crazy, isn't it? So evolving spiritually is the greatest act of self-compassion because you stop driving yourself crazy. If you become humble, everyone will take advantage of you. Nice guys finish last. If you're compassionate, people will, steal everything you have, all that, forget it. Forget it. If you're compassionate, you will experience something special. That we have to understand. We will stop driving ourselves crazy. When Trump became president, people would say, so what do you think of Donald Trump? And I would say, I don't think of Donald Trump. Why would I want to think of Donald Trump? If I do, it's just going to upset me, right? And maybe you like him, maybe you don't, but think of something you don't like, and someone says, what do you think of that? And what do you go on a monologue for the next like 3 hours about how you don't like it. Have you ever done that? Don't get me started here, and then you're started, it's too late, right? And you're off. And what have you just done aside from wasting 3 hours? You've driven yourself crazy and you go home and you're like, right? Isn't it? Have you done that before? Yeah, that is not good. It's not good. It's not intelligent. And I'm just putting this on the top layer that self-compassion, compassion to others, automatically self-compassion. The way you treat others is the way you treat yourself. The way you treat yourself is the way you treat others. We'll get into that later, but it's really important. I'm giving a class now, and this is one of the big topics. So I've had to meditate more on this. This is something I've thought about a lot. But as a counselor, people come to me with their problems, right? And most of those problems are not problems. That, mountain out of a molehill problems, right? Spiritual people make molehills out of mountains. Materialistic people make mountains out of molehills, right? The spiritual person, the world's falling apart, but they have a different vision, They're out there serving and helping and, it's just another opportunity. They make molehills out of mountains. So people come to me and they have their story, and I'm thinking in my mind, I understand what happened, but why would you want a story that's absolutely driving you crazy? I don't understand. You could have a different story, right? That's not the only story you could have, isn't it? Right? It's not the only story. You could have another story. So self-compassion means have a story that will help you. Don't have a story that's harming you, right? Anyway, we'll talk about that more. I'm jumping ahead too much. It's an exciting topic for me. Okay. Now, for a moment, I want to talk about service. You could say, or it could be said, your life is your spiritual path, and service is one of the main ways you make progress on that path. And I'll explain why. I might explain this in the other class, but it's always good to explain again. Oh, I have to tell you something. I didn't give you all the bad news yet. Let me give you all the bad news now. Do you know why you have this body you have? Did anyone ever tell you? Did your mother or father ever tell you why you got that body? Did your high school teacher tell you why you got that body? Would you like to know why you got that body? Would you like to know, how did I end up here anyway? Hatred, envy, selfishness. That's what brought us into this world. And you know what keeps us in this world? I'll give you 3 guesses. If that brought us into the world, what do you think keeps us there? You're right. The same thing that got us here keeps us here, right? Hatred, envy, the desire to be God, to play that role, to turn away from our divine connection. That's how we got here. People who don't turn away from their divine connection don't come here. Did you know that? They never come on this plane. They don't have to. So we've come on this plane out of a kind of a hatred and a turning away from our divine connection. And when we come here, we're pursuing a different consciousness, which is the consciousness is that I want to accumulate for me as much as I can so I can be happy. That's the consciousness. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Ask anyone, excuse me, sir, what are you doing out here on Oxford Street today? Oh, I'm just shopping. Why are you shopping? Oh, just having a good time with my friends. You know, why are you out there? To be happy, of course. You're not out there to suffer, right? So why are you going to work? I hate my job, but I need the money so I can be happy, right? And you do things you hate to be happy, right? So the problem is that because we've taken so many births in this world, and even if you don't believe it, just believe it for now, so I can continue explaining it, and you can not believe it later, but we've taken so many births in this world, and we've done the same thing. What's in it for me? How can I get it? I don't like you because you have something I want, and that means I have less of it, so I have to get it from you. And now we've practiced that. What happens when you practice? You get good at it, right? You ever practice something, you get really good? I think we were doing that in the other workshop. I was playing guitar and I was talking because I wanted to show you when you practice something, you don't have to think about it anymore. You remember that? Claire, was I doing that in that class? You remember? Let's try it, everyone. I don't play guitar much anymore, but when I was young, I play guitar all the time. In fact, I don't even know if I did anything else. And I can talk to you now because I'm playing guitar, and I can just keep talking because you get good. When you practice, you get good at it, right? Well, I need to practice a little more. I got really good. This is like 13 years old I was doing this, and I hardly do it now. But I can do it, and I can, talk to you and tell you things. Okay, so what's the point? The point is, when you practice something over and over and over, you get good at it. Yes or yes? When you practice living in this world, you come into this world, you've turned your back on your divine connection, you come into this world to imitate God, get what you can, enjoy, control, accumulate, step on people's toes if you have to. And you do that life after life. You get really good at it. It's like you can do it in your sleep, right? You can think about all the things you need in your sleep. You can be selfish in your sleep. I have another story for you. You know what happened when I got to Bel Air? That was the neighborhood when I didn't get any tips. True story. Beverly Hills, I'd still get tips. Get out of Beverly Hills, periphery, get tips. Get into Bel Air, no tips. Amazing. True story from my own life. I think true stories are the best evidence, right? So now, why is service so important? Because service, it turns us around 180 degrees. And when you want to try to break a habit, what do? You have to turn around 180 degrees, right? You have to do the opposite. This could be the best thing you ever learn in your life, because we have so many bad habits, so many bad attitudes. Yes? You have any bad habits? Yeah. Welcome to the human race. Okay. Are we selfish? Do we like to go shopping, buy things for ourselves, or do we take that money that we're going to buy our new this or that and we go to some poor neighborhood and throw it on the street and let everybody pick it up? Probably we go to the mall, most of us, right? So how do you overcome it? You do the opposite. Even if you don't want to, you do the opposite. How do you overcome the wrong way of thinking? You force yourself to like the person who you don't like. I have a saying, love the person you hate, even if you hate to love them. Love the person you hate, even if you hate to love them. We actually have a t-shirt like that. We started a t-shirt company. That's one of our t-shirts. Not ready yet, but you'll find out when. Love the person you hate, even if you hate to love them. You can replace that with anything, right? Do the right thing, even if you hate to do it, because it turns around. So service is that very thing which is at odds with our conditioning of selfishness. That's why service is so powerful, because it reconditions us back to our nature very quickly, because that's our nature, is to serve. Have you ever gotten something you really, really, really wanted only to be let down? Has that ever happened to you? Or am I the only one? Yeah. You know that feeling? That's one of the worst feelings, isn't it? Like to get exactly what you want and it doesn't work. Like what's her name? Alanis Morissette. She said, I wanted to become famous so I could be loved, because she was lacking self-love. And she said, I realized that all these fans' love is not the love. It's not going to fill that hole in my heart. I have to love myself. So could you imagine? You finally make it, you're famous. You think this is the panacea for all your problems, and it isn't. Really depressing, isn't it? Yeah. So service, that's the key, service. So service is the foundation of love. It's based, people talk about love, and the guy says, I love you. And she says, show me the house, right? Like, let's make it practical. I love you. I'd do anything for him. All right, show me the house. Show me the car. Show me the diamond ring. So he says, and you think, this guy's a loser. He's just all talk, no action. So love is action. Love is a verb. Have you ever heard the saying, love is what love does? Any of you heard that before? Love is what love does. In other words, I could say I love you, but I don't have to say it if I show it, right? And if I don't show it and I say it, it'll just drive you. I will drive you crazy. Do you have any friends like that tell you they love you, but when you need their help, they somehow or other they evaporate, can't be found? They're on another planet for that week or something. Yeah. All right. So it's like, then you're thinking, I don't know. They say they love me, but it doesn't seem like it. So love is an action. Love is what love does. So the essence of love is service. And when you're serving, you're acting in love. Even if you don't love, it's the action of love. And because it's the action of love, what happens? It builds love. The actions of love build love. You build a habit. And then pretty soon you get good at service. You get so good at it, you like serving more than you like taking. Now I have a story for you. This is an amazing story. You want to hear it? I only give amazing stories, so you don't have to worry. Well, I don't know if you'll find it amazing. It's amazing for me. So when I met my spiritual master, I was at the ripe age of 19 and very fortunate to have met him. And when I saw him, something happened in me that I can only explain by what we call kripa, the mercy of a great personality. But when I saw him, I lost every desire I had for my personal gratification, and I just wanted to serve. It was like 180-degree turnaround. Like what 19-year-old kid wants to serve the world? You know, they just want to find a girlfriend and go out, you know, have fun. And so I saw him, completely changed. So what happened was, by his presence, that consciousness that he had touched me, and it influenced me, so that in that instant, I was actually able to feel my real spiritual position by his grace. Not because I did it, but that's the power of being with someone like that. And I, in all honesty, can say, and in all humility, by his grace, I just felt like serving. And that's what I did. And that was the happiest time of my life. I was just serving. And I was sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag without even a pad on the floor, and getting up at 4 o'clock. And my whole day was engaged in service. That was the happiest time of my life. And prior to that, I was just doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And I was one unhappy person, one unhappy student. Can you relate to that? So if love is the panacea, then we have to break love down. Well, what is it? Well, it's based on service. Now, I want to dissect love into another level. This is so important. Love is based on compassion. You agree? I mean, can you have compassion? But can you have love without compassion? So I want to help you with compassion. We're going to do some exercises, but I first wanted to define compassion. And I'm going to read you a verse from Bhagavad Gita first. This is 6th chapter, 32nd verse of Bhagavad Gita. If you haven't read Bhagavad Gita, you should read it. And I think maybe Kirtan London could advise you if there's any Bhagavad Gita courses. I think maybe Jai Murari might be doing one. You should study Bhagavad Gita. I have a joke. You want to hear it? Bhagavad Gita is the book that ruined my material life. And it's still ruining my material life every day. My material life is completely destroyed by that book. It just destroyed it. But that was good. I wanted to destroy it. So here's the verse from Bhagavad Gita, the book that will destroy your material life, if that's what you're looking for. He who is a perfect yogi, he is a perfect yogi who by comparison to his own self sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. So what this means is, it's a verse about compassion. It means, compassion means to kind of like, almost like enter the mind and body of another person and feel what they're feeling. So you're like totally out of your selfish self now. So the whole world's about me and what I need and what I want, and I can never have enough, and I always want more, and I'm jealous that people have more. You're completely out of that world. Compassion takes you out of that world into the world of feeling the suffering of another. Wouldn't it be nice if everyone was like that? Yeah, this world wouldn't be so bad after all, right? I think that might cure all the people who want to kill themselves, right? If everyone in the world were compassionate, maybe all suicidal people would change their mind or something, right? So I have a question for you. Are you adding to the mass compassion to the world or not? You don't have to answer. It's just a question for you to meditate on. Am I adding more compassion to the world? Am I adding less compassion? If everyone in the world were as compassionate as me, would there be more compassion in the world or less? It's a good question, isn't it? To ask yourself. Because every time you act, you may be acting to add more compassion, or you may be acting to add more hatred or envy or jealousy. So it's a good meditation. Anytime you're tempted to do the wrong thing, thinking, now if I do this, I'll be adding more resentment to the world. The world needs more forgiveness, doesn't it? I could add more forgiveness. Yes, I could add more compassion. I could add more honesty. It's a heavy question, isn't it? What would the world be like if everyone were just like you? That's a heavy question. Right? Isn't it? If you're Donald Trump, you probably say it would be paradise, right? But if we're honest, maybe not paradise, maybe in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. So these are self-reflective questions. And we as people wanting to be spiritual, practicing spiritual life, compassion is such an essence of love. It's such an essence of spirituality. How can you be practicing spiritual life and not have it? It doesn't make any sense, right? It's a paradox. So if we want to evolve spiritually, compassionate acts are powerful. So now we're going to do an exercise which you are going to love. And this exercise will help raise your level of compassion. And all I want you to do right now is think of somebody. Think of somebody that you want to show compassion to. It could be a person you just saw on the street an hour ago. You don't have to know them. It's just somebody you want to show compassion. It could be somebody you don't like. It's even better. If you find somebody you don't like or someone who's hurt you, think of them. This exercise will be powerful. And this is an exercise that we can give you, and you can do it anytime for the rest of your life. So think of that person, and then every time I say the word blank in this exercise, just say their name. No, I'll say he or she. And when I say he or she, you think of them. So I want to ask you to meditate on this person. And I'm going to read a statement. And I want you to think of the person when I say he or she. So you're meditating on this person now. And this is your meditation. Just like me, he or she is seeking some happiness for his or her life. Just like me, he or she is trying to avoid suffering in his or her life. Just like me, he or she has known sadness, loneliness, and despair. Just like me, he or she is seeking to fulfill his or her needs. And just like me, he or she is learning about life. Okay, you can open your eyes. I have a question. Do you feel more compassionate now? A little bit? Isn't that interesting? Now, this is what Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. You try to put yourself, as American Indians say, in the moccasins of another person. And as soon as you do that, it awakens compassion. And I can tell you what I do a lot, especially when I see people who are disturbed. We've all been disturbed before, right? And when you see a disturbed person, you know what it's like to be disturbed. And you can be compassionate, thinking something must have happened. That's upsetting this person, and I know what it's like to be upset. So what happens when you're compassionate? You don't get upset with people. This is one of the biggest lessons I learned from teaching forgiveness. Compassion is a panacea. Compassion is a salve. Because where there's compassion, it neutralizes hate. It neutralizes anger. It neutralizes resentment. It neutralizes negative emotions. Have you experienced that before? Once you understand, you try to understand a person that you didn't like, once you understand them, You start to like them. You don't hate them anymore. If you haven't experienced it, you can apply compassion miraculously. It's the panacea salve. How do you say it in England? Salve? It's the panacea salve. I can't even say it. It's all your fault. You're British. You're making me think I have to say it like the British. The panacea salve, something like that. Yeah. So you apply wherever you can apply compassion, you will find the whole situation changes. You can reduce negativity. You can neutralize negativity. You can turn resentment into forgiveness. You can turn envy into support. You can turn criticism into appreciation. It's so powerful. And it's one of the essential ingredients of love. So this exercise we did, I can tell you what I do a lot of times. I look at people and I think to myself, sometimes it's hard to be in a body, isn't it? Did you ever feel like when you're sick, it would be nice just to get out of the body? Or you ever been really agitated and say, I wish I could just leave my body till I calm down, you know? It's hard sometimes to be in the body, isn't it? Because sometimes the mind is agitated or sometimes the body is in pain. And it would be, and if you get very, very sick, sometimes you just feel like, I wish I'd just die now. This is too painful, right? Everyone walking on this planet is in the exact same position. How easy is it for us to relate? We're all in the same position, isn't it? Yes? Every one of us has a body. We're going through the same thing. And you want to know another beautiful meditation? If you do the math, every one of us is brother and sister. If you walk down Oxford Street thinking every person on this street in some way is my brother or sister, you will have an ecstatic experience, I guarantee you. Or any crowded street or anywhere sitting on the tube or anything. If you think every one of these people is my brother and sister, you will feel a connection and affection for them like you've never felt before. And I don't want to say I challenge you, try it, see what happens. It's amazing. Get your head around the concept. We're all brothers and sisters, all of us, right? You know, people say one human race, this and that, but actually try to feel it. And when you feel it and treat people that way, it's amazing. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to feel it. They're going to be looking at you and like, they're going to like you because you're thinking of them like that. They're going to feel something. We'll talk about that later. Okay, now comes something I really wanted to talk to you about because it's so relevant. And I think you know this. You can't buy love. Things don't buy you love, right? You know that. But people are trying to buy their way into love, isn't it? It's what they're trying to do because love is behind everything we're searching for. So when you do that shopping or get this or that, you're actually trying to buy love. But it's not the way you do it, but it's something to meditate on. I have another topic I want to spend more time on. We're going to give another class in a month about happiness. And I'll touch on this much more in that class about buying your way into love, which you can't do. So I'm going to leave it at that for now as a seed. I think you understand that, but it's nice to be reminded. And now I want to talk about what I think is so important and relevant. And we're going to do an exercise. It's about self-love. Self-love, self-acceptance, self-compassion. I've always felt that how you treat yourself is how you treat others. That's not anything I read in a book. That's my experience. Can I tell you my story? I don't even know how this happened, but I was forced by my spiritual practice. I think it forced me into a corner of self-acceptance because I had very high ideals as a spiritual practitioner, as we all do. Because, you know, if I could be loving, forgiving, without envy and so forth, that would be amazing. And that's where I should be, right? So that's what I want to be. And that's what I'm trying to be. But for so many years, I was falling short. And you know, when you fall short of something you really want, how does it make you feel? It's not a good feeling, is it? It kind of makes you feel like, kind of like a failure of sorts. Have you ever felt like that? Like a failure? Oh, yeah, I feel like that every day, like 24/7. No, yeah. But when you come, you know, you don't know what it's like to feel like a failure until you come to spiritual life, because the goalposts have just been moved up like 10,000 miles into outer space. You know, they're like super high now, right? So now I have these goalposts way up there, and I'm this young 19-year-old, you know, thinking, yeah, we're going to jump like 1,000 miles, right? Took me like 30 years or 40 years to realize, no, I can't get those goalposts. And it was actually hard to admit it. It was actually hard. You'd think 40 years to admit it. It's like I didn't want to give up on that goal. But at some point, I just had to say, okay, that's not you, right? And the day I said that was the best day of my life. Because you know what happened when I said that? When I finally accepted, okay, Mahatma, this is who you are. You know what happened on that day? Everybody else all of a sudden became okay. Everyone who wasn't okay before that day became okay on that day. Isn't that interesting? Claire, you're not okay. Sophie, you're not okay. And Jairati, you're not okay. Andrea, you're not okay. Anantachari, you're not okay. And now I accept myself, and all of a sudden, wow, amazing. All of a sudden, Claire's okay, Sophie's okay, Jairati's okay, Anantachari. All of a sudden, everybody's okay. I mean, this was not some little like fuzzy thing moving like an inch. This was 180, like me accepting people that used to be very difficult for me to accept, or I'd be very critical of. And all of a sudden, they were okay. Hard on yourself, hard on others. Can't accept yourself, can't accept others. Can't forgive yourself, can't forgive others. I've discussed this with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and they all said, yeah, how you treat yourself is how you treat others. And then the icing on the cake was about a week ago, I read something by two psychologists, and they said in their experience, the basis of psychological health, the foundation and most important thing is self-compassion. And all I could say is, wow, that's wow worthy, isn't it? Can you all say, wow? That is wow. That is a statement worthy of a wow. Isn't it? The basis of psychological health is self-compassion. So now we're talking about how compassion is the essence or one of the essential ingredients of love, and how really we won't have love, we won't have compassion to others unless we're compassionate to ourselves. And when you're compassionate to yourself, what happens? Self-acceptance. You accept, this is how I am. Now, some of you are thinking, yeah, but if I accept myself, then I'll just become a lazy bum and I won't do anything. No. If you don't accept yourself, that's more likely what's going to happen to you. You'll just give up. Oh, I'm such a this or that. What's the use of trying? When you accept yourself, actually, it doesn't happen that way. Because self-acceptance is a positive emotion. Self-compassion is a positive emotion. Positive emotions push you up. If you don't forgive yourself, if you dwell in guilt and you're always dissatisfied with yourself, it's a negative emotion. It doesn't push you up. It's the crazy mind that thinks, no, I should beat myself up. That'll be good for me. It'll push me. It doesn't push you. It pushes you down, pushes you into insanity, basically. You agree? So self-acceptance is just the platform from which you can move forward in your life personally. You can move up because now you accept yourself. You can deal with all the stuff you have to deal with. If you don't accept yourself, I can't look at myself. It's so ugly. Isn't it? And you don't deal with it. Right? Great is the man who doesn't run away from his own shadow. from his own reflection. Great is the man who doesn't run away from his own reflection. Isn't it? So when you're self-accepting, you can look at your reflection and start working on it. If you're not self-accepting, to look at your reflection is like a nightmare, isn't it? It's like a horror movie, right? But if I can look at myself and say, okay, this is how I am. How do you do it? What's the secret? You're saying, okay, it sounds good, but how do I do it? Self-compassion. And what does self-compassion mean? It's simple. Simple, simple. You want to know how to do it? It's so simple. Imagine there was another person like you, but like 5 years old. And they're doing all those stupid things you always beat yourself up for doing. And doing all the things that you deride yourself for doing, right? What would you tell them? You would probably say, it's okay. You're trying, keep trying. It's okay. You're just human. Isn't that what you would say? You wouldn't get out a hammer and beat them up, right? What do we say to ourselves? I don't have a hammer. We'll use a pen, pretend it's a hammer. You're such an idiot. Why did you do that? You always do everything wrong. You'll never do anything right. Isn't it? Have you ever said that to yourself? You'll never become anything. You know, we do it a little bit. We do it a lot until we become self-compassionate. We won't stop doing it. Now, I'm not saying you all do it, but if you do, you understand what I'm talking about. Would you do that to the little kid? No, you wouldn't. Why? Because you're showing compassion. What does that mean when you do it to yourself? You're not showing compassion. Does that make sense? Do you deserve your own compassion? What do you think? Yes. When you give yourself that compassion, your life is going to change. And you're going to see how easy it is to give compassion to others, how easy it is to serve others, because you're going to be in a self-accepting position. You're going to be okay with yourself, despite your faults. We're coming out with a t-shirt. I have tons of faults. And this is what it says. I have tons of faults and I still love myself. Something like that. You're going to want all these t-shirts, right? Maybe these t-shirts should be sold at all the mental hospitals, right? Help people out. Yeah. In spite of all my faults, I still love myself, right? Can you do that? Is that okay? Helenka, will your mother let you do that? Will she let you love yourself in spite of your faults? Helenka's thinking, I don't know if she will. Well, it doesn't matter if she will. You can do it. You know, we're both Jewish. You know, we have our mothers are, you know, they're like, they don't always like everything we do, you know. So, so even if your mother doesn't let you do it, you could do it, you know. Just my poor mother, you know, she had her own issues, but, you know, they don't have to be my issues. So, so this is the importance of dealing with ourselves compassionately as we would deal with someone, some younger person, right? When I was younger, I did stupid things. Did you do any stupid things when you were younger? Some like major stupid things. Hopefully the stupid things you do now are less stupid than then. So it's just normal. So compassionate, being compassionate. Okay, so now we're going to do a little exercise. And this is an exercise on self-judgment. So if you can all turn on your chat, then Ananda is going to put these, we're going to read these one by one. And you're just going to make a note if this is a problem you have. And if it is, then you can note to work on it. So if we click on our chat, is there a way to get the chat box on the right side, or I just move it, I guess? Is there a way to get the chat box to move?
Usually if you click on chat, then it appears on the right.
Yeah, mine didn't, but it doesn't matter because I don't need to see it. Okay, can you put the first one up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I need to see it to know when you put it up. And you're just going to, we're going to read these and you're just going to make a note if this is something you need to deal with. And we're going to send these to you also. So maybe we'll have a race, Ananda, as I could put it up, as I have it right here. Okay, I put it up. Okay. You ready to, you have the document, you can do the other ones, or you want me to do them? Is it easier for me if I do? Easier for you?
How soon do I need to put the next one?
As soon as I say, put the next one. You have it copied and ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk about this. I lose sight of what is right with or good about myself because I'm focused on what's wrong with me. So if that's a problem for you, just you know, in your shorthand script, just write something that I just basically I focus on what's wrong, so I don't see what's right. Very common problem. And if you want, you can give yourself a grade on a scale of 1 to 10, how big a problem that is. Because for some of you, it's a small problem. Nice to be aware of it, but it might be only 1 or 2 or 3. Some of you might be 10. Some of you might be a 5 sometimes. If I asked you to tell me 10 things you like about yourself, would that be difficult? If any of you said, that means you're focused on what's wrong about you, not what's right about you. This is a really important question because I've asked this question to some people and they couldn't do it. That's the sign there's a problem. And if you say, I could tell you 100 good things about me, that's a sign of a problem on the other side, right? So, you know, yeah, if, you know, there's some good things about me, you know, it's like, I'm just, you know, channeling the divine. It's not really me. Yeah, that's fine. You know, we want to hear those good things. Okay, number 2. I look or need validation from others to feel better about myself. This is basically saying I don't love myself, so I need someone else to do it for me. I don't think I'm very smart. I need people to tell me I'm smart. I don't think I'm very good at things. I need other people to tell me I'm good at things. And if that is the case, sometimes you may be walking around saying things like, I'm so stupid. I always do stupid things. I always do wrong things like that. That's a sign that this one is a problem, right? Please don't judge yourself if you have these problems. We just wanted to note them so you can work on them. That's all. It's one thing to have a problem. It's another thing to judge the problem. Don't judge yourself for having the problem. Just figure out what you can do. Okay, number 3. I have problems with those who correct me because it reminds me of how bad I am. I thus tend to become defensive when corrected. Do you have problems when people try to correct you? If you can be self-accepting and dealing with your problems, you'll never have this problem again, guaranteed. When you're not self-accepting, you don't want to be reminded of your problems, right? How are we going to turn up better for the world, more compassionate, if we have these problems? It's really hard. If you want to turn up for the world a better person to help others, then these are issues we have to look at. I just wanted to tell you something I heard the other day. It's amazing. We affect people, right? We all know that. But the people we affect, because of our effect, affect other people who affect other people. There's 3 rings of effect for every person you affect. Isn't that amazing? So we do have a lot of effect on people. And if we can be more self-accepting, more self-compassionate, we are going to give more compassion to the world, right? Okay, number 4. I am critical or envious of those I see as better, more intelligent, or more successful than I am. Their success reminds me of my lack of success. It's very similar to the last one. I'm not as successful as I'd like to be, and it drives me crazy. I have some good news for all of you who are being driven crazy by other people's success. You won't be any happier if you have that success. You know why? because you have the same mind and consciousness. And that's the problem, not the success. It's the consciousness. So you can have what they have, but you're still going to have the same consciousness. And that's what's driving you crazy. And you know what? When you get what that guy has, you're going to find another guy who has more than you, and he's going to drive you crazy. You agree? Yeah. So this is so important to realize. You know, if I just had this, I'd be happy. If I just were like them, it's not true. You can be happy right now. We're going to talk about that in a month. It's so important to understand this, because that relieves tremendous amounts of anxiety from your life when you realize there's a million things you don't need to be happy. And you can be happy in your self-realization. You don't need all this other stuff. Okay, number 5. You're fast, Ananda. Wow. I often blame others for my mistakes because admitting my mistakes can make me feel horrible. So it's a similar thing, right? Any of you like to blame people for your mistakes? If you do, not good, because how will you correct those mistakes if you don't admit them? And if you're not willing to admit them, it's that same lack of self-acceptance problem. Does that make sense? Can you see how powerful it is? All this, if you get self-acceptance, self-compassion, this will all go away. You'll be okay with all your faults. You're fine. You are fine. Ashley, you are fine the way you are. Exactly the way you are. And you can be better tomorrow. You're fine right now. And the only way you're going to be better tomorrow is if you accept that you're okay. You know what it is? You are the way you are right now. And that's not going to change by not accepting it. But it will change by accepting it much faster. You are the way you are. And so what? You know, we do kirtan, and kirtan is really nice. And then we make spiritual food. Some of you have had it. It's delicious. And no matter who you are, it tastes good, right? It still tastes good. Even though you have a million faults, it still tastes good. So it's not a problem to be who you are. The only problem is to stay who you are. Now, if you're staying who you are, not improving, yeah, that's a problem. But who you are is not the problem. I have to go to Manchester. That's not a problem. The problem is getting in the car and not starting it. That's the problem. But I'm so far from Manchester. That's not the problem. Just get in the car and go. It doesn't matter. What matters is, no, it's too far to go. I'm not going. That's the problem. Okay, next one. Number 6. I have problems with introspection because admitting my own faults reminds me of how bad I am. How important is introspection? It's extremely important. Extremely, extremely important. Because when you work on yourself, you become better and the world becomes better. I would say that we all have to think that we need to become better to make the world better. It's our duty. If you want to make the world better, you have to become better. You agree? So this work that we do on ourselves, it's not just for you, it's to make the world, it's to show up better. And for those 3 circles of people you influence. You know, if you give more compassion to yourself, you give more compassion to others. Okay, number 7. I don't live up to my full potential because I believe I am less than I actually am. Yeah, a lot of people have this problem. We've convinced ourselves we're less than we are. And it's not true. I could never do that. Okay, let's make a bet. I bet 1 million pounds you could. You ready to put 1 million pounds down that you could never do it? Probably not. It's a possibility you could. Remember this one thing, that what you can't do is possible by divine mercy. There's always this other factor, this divine mercy factor. So you may think, I could never be self-compassionate or whatever. There's divine mercy factor, which could enable you to do anything impossible. And never forget that, because it's true, 100% true. Okay, number 8. How many do we have? 9? 12?
13.
13. Okay, I'll go fast. Number, self-condemnation is my normal state. That's the person who walks around 100 times a day. I'm so stupid. I do everything so stupid. I'm so bad. Why would anybody like me anyway? I do everything wrong. Sounds like a cartoon character, right? You know anybody like that? Have any friends like that? You call them up and you already have the script of what they're going to say because they say it every time. That kind of person. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'll tell you what you want to tell me. You have the script. You have the recording from the last conversation. Right? You already know. Yeah. I have a friend like that. He tries to tell me something. I go, no, don't tell me. I'll tell you. How did you know? Oh, because that's what you always say. Okay, next one. Number 9, coming right up. Dun, dun, dun. I lose enthusiasm for my spiritual practices because I feel I'll never become very spiritually conscious no matter what I do. What's the use? Why try? I'll never make it. You can apply that to something material also. Okay. Here's my analogy for all of you. You're in a long line and it doesn't look like the line's moving very fast. And you kind of feel like maybe I should just get out of the line. That line is moving towards the spiritual world, but you can't see it moving. It doesn't seem like it's moving. It even seems like it might be going backwards. Just stay in the line. You'll get there, believe me. Don't jump out of the line. And the example of mercy is some security guard taps you on the shoulder and says, you go to the front of the line. No reason, just they like you. You go to the front of the line. That's mercy. So just stay in the line. That's my advice to everyone. Okay, next one. I lose my enthusiasm for my spiritual practices because I feel God doesn't care whether or not I am spiritually conscious. I am unworthy of love. Why would he care? He doesn't care. I mean, my mother didn't care. Why would he care? That kind of thing. In fact, if your mother didn't care is why you think God doesn't care, because you kind of see your mother and father like God. So this is not true. Believe me, take my word, it's not true. He does care. He's waiting for you. He's waiting for you to turn towards him because we've turned away. So he's waiting for us to turn back. Okay, we have 3 more. I lose, my self-esteem is depleted, which is if you have all the above is kind of an indication. Yes, next. I am depressed because I can't accept myself. Yeah, that's a consequence of not accepting yourself. And number 13. I try to fix my emptiness with some sort of material gratification. Yeah, that's a problem. If we have these other problems, then we may try to fix them with something that won't fix it. Drugs, alcohol, whatever, Netflix, overdose of Netflix, overdose of chocolate, whatever, your drug of choices. Okay, so we are going to end now because we want to do Kirtan, but I think we have to take time for questions because you may have questions and questions are important. Is that okay, Ananda? This is a big topic and I basically just touched it. And we are planning to do a course in March, is it? March? April? March?
April.
We're planning to do a course in April. And this is the 3rd class I did with Kirtan London. And I'm thinking, I want to elaborate on each one of these classes because I'm basically just planting seeds right now in your head. And this topic is deep. I could do self-acceptance for one course and give you all kinds of exercises. So just so you know, there's going to be more. So, but at this point, I want to stop for questions. And you can ask them or you can chat them. Or is everyone in shock from that exercise?
We have 2 questions.
Okay. Okay.
that came
Okay.
in the chat. So
Okay.
they were sent to me, so I'm going to keep them anonymous. So the first one is going, hi, I would like to leave a question. Sometimes we may feel that somebody's doing something just because it's their duty and not because they love doing it for the person that they're doing it for. Maybe
Yes.
this is, may this be also a wrong way to see love? Maybe the fact that the person is steadily doing their duty is a proof of love.
Yeah, it's a good point. Now, I was going to talk about it, but we ran out of time. And sometimes duty is a manifestation of love, because it's not just about doing something when you feel like it. But if you actually love someone, you'll do it when you don't feel like it, or you make a commitment. We're going to get married. It's been 40 years. Things are different, but I'm committed. That's my love. It may not be fiery love or romantic love, but it's the love of duty. And my spiritual master was asked a similar question, because when we take initiation, we make vows. Don't eat meat, celibacy, no gambling, no intoxication. So when he was asked, what does love mean? He said, well, if you're initiated, love means to follow the promises you made. So that's part of love. Commitment to what you said you would do is love. Right? You agree? I mean, if someone says, I love you, and they break all their promises to you, and if, that's what love means. It means a commitment, devotion, dedication. It's a different kind of love. We're not used to that in the West so much. Traditional cultures are more duty bound than we are, isn't it? So, did you know that in traditional cultures, when people got married, it was more of a pragmatic thing than a romantic thing? Like, most people lived on farms, and he needed people to help him. So he needed a wife to make kids and kids to help the farm. Did you know that? So it wasn't kind of like how beautiful she is. It was more like how strong is she? And so her duty, take care of the kids, work the farm, his duty, take care of the kids, work the farm, it was very duty based. And we're, I think, a little obsessed with romantic based. And that if it's based too much on romance, the duty is only equated with the romance. When the affections, the sensual affection or the quote unquote love is not there, then you have nothing to fall back on. So duty is a sign of love. There's a story in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is the main character of Bhagavad Gita, you probably all know, and he lost his son in the battle, and it was an unfair way his son was killed. And in those ancient times, they had rules for battle, and the rule was broken, or it was unfair. So he was upset, obviously. And so one man said to my spiritual master, Arjuna must not have been pure because he was lamenting. And lamentation is a sign of impurity. And he said, no, he lost his son. That's normal. He would lament. But the next day he was back on the battle. He didn't stop fighting. He didn't give up his duty. So that's a sign that he had love. That he wasn't affected by the emotion of losing his son. He did his duty. So yes, duty is a sign of love. I mean, ladies, do you want some guy, after you've been married 25 years who, says you're too old, you're 45, I need someone 25? How does that make you feel? Like, oh, he really loves me. No, you want the guy who says, doesn't matter how old you are, what you look like or anything, I'm here. This is my duty. We're together. That's a higher form of love, right? Maybe not romantic. You may not be romantically in love, but you're dutifully in love. And did you know that if married people are healthier? Did you know that? That people who have love in their life are healthier? Did you know that? You want to hear something funny? One of the world experts on love said, if you took 20 minutes a day and worked on your relationship, you would be healthier than if you took 20 minutes a day and went to the gym. Isn't that funny? He He said, a good relationship will make you healthier than 20 minutes at the gym. So love is really the cure. And so duty is part of that relationship. Okay. And I thank you for that question. I completely forgot that I wanted to mention that. It's a very important point. Okay. Who asked that question?
Christina.
Christina. Thank you, Christina. Where are you hiding? Oh, there she is. She's hiding.
Attending to her duties.
Christina, I had a thought today. You know what my thought was? Where is Christina? That was my thought. Haven't seen you in a long time. She's been hiding from me. She's still hiding from me. Okay. Anyway, we'll let you hide if you want. It's fine. Okay. Another question.
So we have a few more. So how do you help others who haven't been on this course and may greatly benefit? Is it just by keeping your own practice strong? And then if someone's behavior is impacting others, is it best to accept and love anyway, or find a way of telling the truth in a kind way? So 2 questions.
First question is, one really good thing you can do is find somebody and teach them what you learned today, because it'll go deeper into you. That's a really, really, I'm a teacher, so I can say from experience, if you want to learn something, teach it. You know, it's just like, yeah, teach it like 5 times, and you'll really get it. And there's a lot of things I'm saying that you think you understand. When you teach it, you'll understand it more deeply, for sure. So yes, share what you've learned, but I think more importantly is become what you learned. I think that has more of an influence on people. When you see, I've seen people who never talked to me, who didn't know me, who changed my life just by the way they acted. More than people who taught me. When I saw what they did, my heart was transformed by their humility, or by their yeah, I don't know what the word is, generosity. You know, those kind of people who are like, what planet are you from? They're just like love and generosity, and everyone, you know, just everyone around them smiles, you know. Those people have changed my heart. So if you can embody what you learn, that has the most powerful influence on people, for sure. And the second question, what about people who
The second question was, if someone's behavior is impacting others, is it best to accept and love anyway, or find a way of telling the truth in a kind way?
Depends on the situation. Either one could work depending on the situation. And it depends on a lot of it depends on the consequence. If it's just like, well, this bothers me, but it's just bothers me, it's not like a big deal, then maybe it's better I just deal with it and tolerate it. But if it's really, you know, a problem for me or a problem for another, then we have to learn how to talk, speak the truth without disturbing people. Or we just have to move away from it if we don't think that they'll understand. It's hard for me to say because every situation is different. But what I would say, just as a general answer, the more compassionate you become, the easier it is going to be for you to answer this question and execute what you have to do. Because people feel you when you're talking, right? And if you're coming from a good place and you have to say something that's not so nice, people will feel it in more of a nice way. So and if you appreciate people, if you see the good in people, they'll feel that when you talk to them. And they'll say things like, you know, if anyone else said that, I couldn't take it, but I know that you are coming from compassion or care, and I could hear it. Thank you. That's what you want to hear. That's what you want to hear. That means you've got it. And if you don't have that, you may not want to say anything because it may not work. You may want to work on yourself. Okay. What are your thoughts on activism? I often feel emotions, anger, which is hindrance. To activism, meaning like political activism? Was that it?
Yeah. So yeah, political activism, kind of everything that's kind of happened in the past year. It's something that I try to kind of coming back to the quote that you said about Donald Trump, trying to like not think about Donald Trump. You know, it's easier to kind of to not think about it, but when it's so kind of in your face and it's something that, you know, is very just, it's quite difficult to obviously turn away. So yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I can give you my thoughts. We all have to deal with it. So, and the answer to Yvette's question is, yeah, this class will be made available. Right, Ananda? Yeah. I thought about this a lot. I actually started a company which in one sense was dealing with this problem. And when I was 19, there were riots on my university. Actually, in America, there were lots of riots in 1969 against Vietnam War and against other things. And in this riot, people were throwing stones in shop windows. They were throwing stones in car windows, and they were throwing stones at traffic lights. And it got so bad that the police had to they actually tear gassed the campus. Ever been in tear gas before? It's like cutting an onion and putting it to your eye, basically. And the whole campus got tear gassed, like all the teachers, everyone who worked there, everything. And I was looking at this and I was thinking, this doesn't seem like the best way to fight this cause, right? There's lots and lots of uncontrolled anger in people and unproductive anger. So anger can be very productive, right? And like you say, there's injustice. But we've seen so much reform, but it always comes back. There's always people who do the wrong thing, isn't it? Like there's always, you know, you and your friends, you talk about it, you get some organization together, we're going to do this, and there's always the other people who mess it up. So in my meditation on this, my realization was also the realization of my spiritual master. He said something like, if you can change the consciousness of 5% of the world, it'll tip the other 95% into a higher consciousness. And that consciousness will change the world. And other spiritual teachers have said similar things. I don't know, percentage-wise. And so like we try to get, you know, my goal is to get like 5% of the world meditating every day. And that could flip the consciousness. So that's why I think the best energy is. And that's why I always tell people, work on yourself, because that way you'll influence other people to not create the problem. And see, the other problem, Sabrina, is sometimes our solutions actually create problems because we don't know. We may not always know the solution. If you study karma, what's interesting about studying karma is there are karmic consequences to things. And a lot of people don't understand karmic consequences. So they're dealing with cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, like 5 times removed. They don't know what the original cause is. And so they're working on the cause, the effect that they see. There's a huge effect to animal cruelty that's showing up, but it doesn't show up logically. My spiritual master said, killing of animals shows up as war. Humans kill animals, humans get killed in war. Like, who would ever think like that? Nobody would think like that. War has political, you know, you can analyze it. Go to university, you can analyze why World War I started, why World War II started, right? Why Vietnam War started. And my spiritual master said, it's animal slaughter. Whoa. So I think that's super important in understanding and making solutions, right? Number one cause of the ecological problem, which so many people don't want to admit, is animal slaughter, right? And they'll, you know, they say so many things. I've heard them. And I say, why aren't you talking about animal slaughter? So-called experts. So I think that's super important. And you know, I was part of, I attended peace rallies in the 60s, you know, part of that. And most people were not vegetarian. So it's kind of like you get this paradox. We understand the injustice, but we don't understand the cause. And then you don't understand, sometimes you're actually causing what you're protesting against because you don't understand karma. So, you know, it requires a deep spirituality. And if everyone became vegetarian, you don't realize how many problems that would solve, but nobody understands the logic of it because it doesn't seem logical. So I think those are important things for you to understand as an activist or a person who's disturbed by what's going on. But one time, my spiritual master, we discussed the political situation. He said, the political situation, you're not, the leaders can't do much unless the people demand leaders. You know, do you imagine I was the prime minister of London? I go, okay, animal slaughter, finished. I'd be like killed the next day, right? But what if everyone in England became vegetarian? Then they'd vote for me and they'd say, ban animal slaughter. And I'd banned it and the people would be happy. So he said, you have to change the people to change the leaders, because the people will vote for the kind of leaders you want. And if, you know, we need better leaders, but who are the people voting for? The leaders that, you know, make the economy go well, and they're not going to close down the, you know, slaughter industry, or not going to stop pornography and like that. So, you know, it's like a deeper issue when you look at it spiritually. So those are some of my thoughts that, you know, as a starter. But the best thing you can do is to be better and make other people better. And all the people that are working on you, you meditate, you chant every day, you raise your consciousness, then the mass consciousness gets better. And the mass consciousness, you give out more compassion, you give out more kindness, you know, that's, you know, that's really, that's the movement I do. I have a project called the Mantra Project. And the whole thing is we want to get everyone chanting mantras every day. And we want to get to this number, I don't know what it is, 10 billion mantras a day or something around the world. And we go, when we get there, then we're going to see changes. Like it's, you know, like every day, everybody's chanting. We're working on the app now. So you can, you get the app and then you register how much you chant every day. And you give it to your friends and go, hey, do this, I'm doing it. And then we make a dent, as what's his name from Apple said. What's his name? Forgot. You know, the founder of Apple.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs said, make a dent in the universe. Yeah. So we can make a dent in the universe in a different way, by the universe of consciousness. And the company I formed that was based on the principle that real revolution is a revolution of consciousness. Because if consciousness doesn't change, then, and then the idea of things change from the inside first before they change, you know, like the ecological problem, it's a consumer problem, right? It's, you know, people have to, you know, simplify their lives. Otherwise, how's that problem going to change, right? We have all the facts and figures and it's not changing because people can't stop their consumeristic habits. So it has to start inside, then it'll manifest outside. So these are, we don't have time to talk more, but that's my general idea. And I think there's millions and maybe billions of people who will resonate with that. And we need billions of people to resonate with that, because that will change things. And if they just want to go out and break windows or something, it's like, well, that didn't do much. Just gave the window companies more business, but it didn't really help anything. Right? Okay, what should we do, Ananda? Should we do Kirtan now, or more questions, or what, or both?
We do have more questions, but we've also run out of time. So I think we'll probably have to move on to Kirtan. And should we answer the questions separately by email? I can just send everybody a little voice note from you.
Yeah, I can answer by voice note. That'll be good.
Yeah,
I want to see.
I'm gonna remember these, copy these questions, and then we can answer them with a little voice note.
Yeah. You know, we're only going 2 hours, so, you know, we can only do so much. And we want to chant a little bit. And I want to sing you a song I wrote. You want to hear it? It's really cool, if I don't say so myself. It was supposed to like get 1 million hits, but I think it only got like 20,000. So what can I say? It deserved 1 million hits. You can share it. It's on, the song's called Radhe Shyam. And if you, do you have the link there? If you get the link, Radhe Shyam Mahatma Das. If you look Mahatma Das Radhe Shyam, or Forever is the name of the CD, Radhe Shyam, then you can find the song, the recording. You could even buy it if you want. And are we going to put up on the chat the chorus we all want you to sing? There's a chorus. I had to write the words down because I never actually played it on the guitar and sang it. I just recorded it and someone else actually sang it. This is actually going to be the second time I did it last night. Okay, so here's the chorus. Radhe, Radhe, Shama Sham, Radhe, Sham Sham. Can we try it, everybody? Well, you have to mute yourself. Radhe, Shama Sham, Radhe, Sham Sham, oh, Radhe, Sham Sham, Radhe, Sham Sham. So there's 3 verses, and in between each verse we'll sing. Is that okay? And you can sing muted. When you feel like the world has you down on the ground, and it's hard to face another day, when everywhere you look you can't find an answer, it's time to throw your hands up and say 3, 4, Radhe, Shama Sham, Radhe, Sham Sham, Radhe, Sham Sham, Radhe, Sham Sham. And now you'll know why I'm singing the song when you hear the next line. And you look for meaning, and you look for love, but you're just not sure where they're found. Giving ear to your heart, turn your search within. Your soul will awaken to the sound. Okay. Radhe, Shama Shama. Shama Shama, Radhe, Shama Shama, Radhe, Sham Sham. And as the light enters your heart, your whole world will start to glow. And you'll look for your problems, but they're no longer there, because you've begun to know. Radhe, Shama Shama, Radhe, Shama Shama, Radhe, Shama Shama, Radhe, Sham Sham. That's the best song on my CD. And the CD is called Forever. And if you look Forever, Mahatma Das, Radhe Sham, you will find it. Yeah. And we also have, we have a video of that. So you're welcome to look at the video. And Ananda really likes me playing guitar. So I'm going to play guitar a little bit and we'll chant. Right? We're going to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Everyone says, why do you always chant Hare Krishna? And I say, well, when you love Susan, you don't sing to Betty. Right? You sing the name of the one you love. So I thought, because this is about where is the love, we'll sing kirtan to that melody. Where is the love melody? Where is the love? So we'll chant to that. Where is the love? Where is the love? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You want to dance? You want to stand up and dance? And I can watch you dance. I'll get inspired. I'm going to put a beat. Let's have a beat. Okay? See if we can get a beat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, let's dance a little more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for moving your body. Makes me very happy to see you dancing. So it was nice spending this evening with you. And we will be back again in a month, right? 17th of March, is that correct?
17th of March. Yes, thank you all so much. I'm